One Percenter Podcast with Sam Bakhtiar, bringing you the 1% knowledge to help you reach your full potential. Learn what it takes to rise above the 99% and become a 1%er.
Welcome to the One Percenters Podcast. This is your host, Sam Bakhtiar, and I have a 1%er in the house, pro skater Mikey Taylor. What's going on, my brother?
Pleasure.
Thank you so much, man. I know it's a long way for you to drive from Westlake to Chino Hills, man.
I'm not even worried about it. I'm stoked to be here.
I've done that travel many of times because we have a business in Thousand Oaks.
Okay.
And I remember doing that like every week for a period of 6 months. And when the traffic is bad, bro.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Yeah, it's kind of brutal. Well, I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thank you.
You know, and let's jump right back into it. So, pro skater, right? Gosh, man, how did that happen? How did you become a pro skater?
Well, you know what? I had found something, like I started skating, I fell in love with it, right? Mm-hmm. And it was kind of in love with it.
And when did you start skating?
I started when I was 13.
13, okay.
Yeah.
So you started late, actually.
I started late. I started really late.
Because when I think of a pro skater, I'm like, we probably like 3-4 years old, just like start skating. But you started skating at 13.
I started really late. Okay. I absolutely did.
Okay.
With no thought that being a pro skateboarder could even be a reality, right? I just loved it, and it was like a love kind of obsession, where I just didn't want to not do it anymore. And so what happened is I got to the point where my parents wanted me to get a job, and I didn't want to stop skating, so I had to figure out how to not stop skating. Yeah. And so I convinced sponsors to give me free product and then pay me to wear it. And that ultimately led into a career. It was all this like hack to not have to stop skating.
Well, obviously you got good at it quick. I mean, you know, like you can't suck and call somebody and say, hey man, let me wear your product if you're a sucky skateboarder, right?
That's true.
You know,
That's
true. So how do you turn pro in skateboarding?
So
what is considered a pro skate? I know like bodybuilding, you have to like win the nationals, and you have to go to compete at the nationals level. How do you become a pro at being a skateboarder?
So basically, what it means is your board sponsor, which is the board company you ride, they sell a board with your name on it. So they're the ones who initiate it. They put your name on a board, and then all the other companies follow. So you'll do a signature clothing line. You could get a signature shoe. But what it ultimately means is they're going to sell your name.
That's pretty badass.
Yeah.
So obviously you got good at it quick. Like how did you get so good at skateboarding, given that you started so late?
The obsession part, for me.
You were just, once you fell in love with it, you were just doing it 24/7?
24/7. So basically I started with these kids, and it was really like, I saw a cool kid riding a skateboard and I wanted to fit in. That's how it started. Yeah. And then we all started skating, and then after a year, they no longer wanted to skate, and I just couldn't turn it off. So it was like, I'd wake up before school and skate. School would end. I'd skate till it was dark, eat dinner, skate in my garage. It was, from the point I started of basically 13, for the next 20 years, I'd skate every day, all day. It was just, that was my life. Wow. And that's how I got good quick.
So then, tell me about, so that's your real sales skills, right? Even at a young age, you started selling yourself. Right.
Without even knowing it.
Like, without even knowing it, right? You became a salesperson. Tell me the process. So now you're like, all right, man. Let me approach these people, because that's kind of gutsy. You know what I mean? That requires self-confidence, a little self-belief. Let me call these people. Hey, let me wear your stuff and you pay me. Yeah. Tell me how that happened.
So I think I was so like not willing to let skating up that all the like insecurities and how tough it is to go out and do that were just in the back of my mind, because I wanted it
like,
so bad.
This is what I want to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what happened at that point is there was a kid who was the filmer, like the skate filmer, and I convinced him to film a 3-minute video of myself skating. And he put it on a VHS tape. At this point, there was no social media, so it was just magazines. So I went through the magazines and looked for companies that put ads out that put their address at the bottom. So I take the address, I put it on the manila folder, put attention team manager, and sent like 40 of these tapes out, is how I originally went about it. And I didn't get any callbacks.
And those were VHS.
VHS.
The big old.
Yeah. Yep. So I sent 40 out, and they were expensive for a kid who makes no money, right? Yeah. And so no one called me, so I convinced him to basically film another one of me. I didn't think it was good enough. Send another 40 out, and I got 3 of the companies that called me back.
So the first time you send your demo tape, if you will.
Yeah.
Nobody called you.
No, 40. 40
Out of 40, you had 0 calls.
0.
So then you're like, you know what? Maybe the demo tape sucked.
Yeah.
So maybe I need to do a better job at a demo tape.
Yep.
So what I'm trying to get at is like, you didn't give up.
No.
Because most people, after sending 40 things and get nothing, they're like, man, maybe I suck.
Yeah.
But you were like, no, this is what I want to do. Let me do another demo tape.
Yeah.
Tell me what was the difference between the first demo tape and the second demo tape as far as content is concerned.
Probably went from like a B- to a B.
Got it.
Right?
So
wasn't like light years ahead.
Yeah, so it was just a slight change.
Slight change. Yeah, because skating, for you to get really good at skating, it takes a long time.
Yeah.
So if I send out a crappy video and I need this thing to be great, I wasn't sending the next one out for 2 years.
Yeah.
Couldn't wait 2 years.
Yeah.
So it was, 4 months. So, I just tried harder things, but I don't think it was light years ahead of the first from the second.
And for those people who are listening to this, is it just takes a little bit of tweak.
Yeah.
And not being given up and being persistent and not worrying about getting a no for an answer.
Yeah, dude, a lot of it could have been like, there's so many factors that come into play, right? I might have took if I would have taken the first 40 and just sent them again, maybe it was a timing thing.
Absolutely. I was just thinking that.
Who knows?
I was just thinking that because, a lot of times you're just like, okay, then it must have been a timing thing.
Yeah.
Because how many times have I seen something? I'm like, nah, I don't want it. Then the right time comes.
Yep.
Or maybe the CEO of that company was in the right mood at that day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it could have not even been the tape.
Yeah.
But you tried again, and you're willing to tweak things.
Yeah.
And then you got 3 calls. What happened from there?
So from there, so it started off them just giving me free stuff.
Yeah.
So I got 3 companies to give me free stuff, and it was free skateboards, free shoes, and free clothes. And this is when I was about 16. And so that went on until I graduated, which was going to be maybe a year and a half later. And that's when it got to the point of I had to figure out how to get them to pay me. Because my parents wanted me to go to college.
Hey, now you graduated, man. Your parents are like, hey, you're 18, man. You're on your own.
You're on your own. Time to go to school. And thankfully, my parents, why I had to get sponsored was because my parents wanted me to get a job at 16.
Got it.
And I didn't want to get the job, so I came up with this plan and convinced them that if I get companies to give me free stuff, I won't have to buy anything, and if I need money, I could sell the product, right? And I think they thought it was so crazy that they were like, okay, if you don't want to get a job and you can go do that, fine. Like, there's no way he can do it. And then so when I did it, that got my parents off my back until graduation. Then with graduation, it was like, okay, this was fun for you, but you need to go to school now.
But now you can make some real money.
Yep. So from that point, right when all that was happening, I graduated. My parents wanted me to kind of go to college. My sponsors wanted me to start traveling with them. And I started getting photos in magazines, but they weren't paying me. And I basically used my parents as leverage to my sponsors and said, hey, look, I'm good at this. I want to do this. You clearly want me to do it, but my parents want me to go to college. So if I can't get paid to do this, I'm going to have to quit.
Yeah.
And,
well, that's a pretty good pitch.
Yeah, and they bought, and we're talking $800 a month. They get paid me $800 a month when I was 18. We're not talking about real money at this point, but it was enough for me to go, okay, I'm getting a little bit of money now. I just need to figure out how to get more.
Dude, $800 at 16 back in the day, man, I wasn't mad either though. You know what I mean?
I wasn't mad at it. I was not mad at it.
You know what I mean? For doing something you love to do, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you did that for how long? So you were getting paid. What was the next point in your life? What was the next step?
So basically, I'm pro for the first year. I'm not really making much money. The second year is when Tony Hawk kind of broke through into mainstream media. And then every kid wanted to dress like a skater, even if they didn't skate.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I even I don't know a damn thing about skating. I even had like a dozen skate shoes.
Yeah.
And there were skate shops everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere. Like there were skate shops and skate shoes, and there were like 10, 15 different skate shoes brands.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't even know if they still exist or not.
Yeah.
But
that movement, like how you bought 12 pairs, a ton of people did that. And so what that did for us is all our companies started booming.
Yes.
And that meant we were able to make more money.
Yep.
So right when that happened, I was pro for 2 years, and then I started, $800 and then $5,000 a month, and then now I'm making $100,000 a year, and it's like, okay, this is like
That's
kind
what
of
I'm
a
talking
thing.
about.
So that was a big jump, and then when I got my first signature shoe is when things really started changing, because from that point, I was selling my name on skateboards, and a skate shop would buy maybe 2 of my boards a month. But when it came to shoes, they'd buy multiple size runs in multiple colors. So the amount of money I was making on royalty was significantly different.
Got it. So how did that come by? It's one thing putting your name on a skateboard. Now you have your own signatures, Mikey Taylor shoes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know if there's any of them around. I would love to have one. They're probably retro, I'm sure you have some of them,
Yeah, of course.
Memorabilia and
Yes,
stuff like that.
of course.
So yeah, Mikey Taylor shoes. How did that even feel? I mean, Jesus, that puts you, I don't care what anybody say, that puts you in the league with the Michael Jordans and stuff. Not to that level, but you have your own. How many people have their own shoes?
You know what's so weird? Yes, it did not feel like I thought it was going to feel. It felt, and I'll give you some kind of context. Skateboarding is very different than most sports, where skating's really careful about our culture and it not coming off unauthentic. And with my shoe went beyond skateboarding. It went to every person wearing it. Nice. And so the first time I saw somebody wearing my shoe, it wasn't a skater. And my first thought was like, oh my gosh, is this bad? Right? Like, is this bad for me that non-skaters are wearing my product?
That's a great thing.
It is a great thing. But my first thought was not a great thing. My first thought as a 20-year-old kid
is... Would the company making the shoes...
Was I selling out was my first thought. Got it. Was I selling out? Does this mean that I'm not going to be looked at as a core skater anymore? And my first concern was, does this mean I'm not going to be a pro skateboarder for as long as I want? Was my first thought, which is not the correct thought.
Yeah.
But that was my first thought. Yeah. What ended up happening is the realization that skateboarding is this small.
Yes.
Right? And to get beyond it is the only chance you have to actually...
make any real money.
Exactly.
Got it.
Exactly.
That must have been a great, I know for you, it wasn't such a great feeling, but gosh, man, if I go somewhere, like even when I walk around and I see somebody wearing my 1%er, brand or something like that, lights up my eye, man. I just go shake that person's hand and, bro, thank you. And they're like, who are you? I'm like, I'm the founder.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
So that's your own, skate shoes, you have your own skateboard, you're making good money now. So at your peak with your shoes,
at my peak, and this is going to be a lot for skaters, this is small for regular world. At my peak, I was making about $500,000 a year.
Well, that's freaking. That's not small.
It's not small,
but it's not like basketball. Of course, not like basketball.
It's not like basketball, and this is why I said it like this. For a skateboard career, a 10-year career is incredibly long, right? Usually 5 to 6 years, and $500,000 a year is on the higher end, but even $500,000 a year, right? You take taxes out of that, you compress the length of career. Yeah. It's not that significant with the rest of your life.
Got it.
Right? So if I could, if I could be a pro skateboarder for the next 40 years, okay, that's pretty solid.
But that's not going to happen.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then what happened with the shoe deal? Because I know there's some contractual stuff, right?
So that happened later.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, I get my first shoe, and then I'm in this. So when I turned pro, I didn't think I was going to be pro for as long as I was. I thought I was going to be pro for 6 years. And I'm getting pretty close to that 6-year mark at this point, going, how long can this go for? And so I was ultimately trying to figure out how to make my career go longer. And it was this idea that, well, if I own the companies that I can market, well, when my career ends, I could then kind of transfer over into like a full-time business mode of the careers I start, and my relevancy, even if it's not relevant as a pro skateboarder, can carry on with what I helped build. And so that was the beginning of me starting my own companies. And that was, I was 26 when I started my first one. And then through that process, I started my first one, started my second one, which was St. Archer, which is what we talked about. And just to kind of give you like a quick thing, St. Archer ended up selling, and I was still a pro skateboarder, which was not what I was planning on. I thought St. Archer was going to be my backup plan. And so it ended up selling, and then I was able to still skate for 2 years, and then my shoe sponsor and the contract happened.
Okay, so let's talk about your brewing company. Okay. So tell me how that started. That's the St. Archer, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're still skateboarding. Your shoes making money. You go to Plan B. Let me go to Plan B in case my career runs out. Yeah. You start a brewing company with 2 other friends and partners. Yeah. Your that takes off and gets acquired by
Miller Coors.
Holy shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, tell me the and I think he went what? It well to 8 figures, mid 8 figures.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did well on it.
You sold that for mid 8 figures. Tell me, what was the feeling like that you guys sold a company to Miller Coors and again the offer letter for mid 8 figures, basically 3 kids, basically, right?
Yeah.
3 kids getting. I don't even know what I would how I want to know the feeling.
So I'm going to give you more. This is going to make more sense when I say this into the skate mind. My first feeling again was very different than what I was expecting.
Jesus, you weren't okay.
It was honestly, I was scared when it happened, and this is why. And I'll try to explain the skate world because this will make sense. Skateboarding is anti-success. It's anti-corporation.
Oh, so you just gotta be a bum, but be a great skateboarder, right?
Yes.
That's persona.
Exactly, right? And skateboarding is very, like I almost had to live 2 different lives in a sense because I was doing all this planning. I was doing all this like building businesses. I had this idea that I could be successful beyond it.
But you didn't want to show it.
No, because that's whack inside skateboarding. Like that is not cool.
Oh, you sold out, man. You know.
Seriously, selling out is a big deal in skating. Like when you sell a company, like you are now whack. And so for me, when it sold and it was so public in our world, my first thought was, oh my gosh, I can't hide this anymore. And I was scared of it. And then when I got,
who cares? You made 8 figures. You can just throw your fingers up at your people at that time.
So now I'm at that position.
Yeah.
Right. But remember, like this was all everything I've learned to this point was through experience as a skateboarder, right? Yeah. And skateboarding is, even though it's really small, it's very loud. Yeah. And it's all I knew. So a lot of this, like,
that's your world.
Was reprogramming how I was taught. Yeah. Right? So my first thought was like, oh my God, this is not good, right? Now people are gonna know. My other fear actually, it sounds weird, is when you get that much money, it was this whole new type of responsibility, like, okay, you better not blow this now.
You better not F it up.
Yeah, so that was my first experience, and then as I started moving through it, it was like, wow.
So how old were you at that time when that acquisition happened?
This was October 2015. So I was 31.
Okay, so you're 31, now you have 8 figures in the bank account. You know what I mean? And were you married at the time?
Yeah.
Okay, married at the time. What does your wife think?
She doesn't understand it.
She was like, what the hell? I don't
totally don't understand it.
Hey, all she knows, we're rich though, we're rich. We rich. I don't know how we rich, but we rich.
Yeah.
I don't have to understand it, but I see the bank account. There's 8 figures in it.
Yeah, she didn't understand it at first, but quite frankly, like, it was such a different, it was a life change. Yeah. Right? It was a life change, but what I was fighting was everything that I knew prior to that, which was skateboarding. Yeah. So it was...
The limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
The limiting beliefs, the things that you have to reprogram yourself.
It's so funny, man. Skaters are like, there's part of skating that programs us to be incredible. Right, like the idea that you talked about.
Tony Hawk, came mainstream, and he was very successful. There's a couple of other skateboarders that came out.
So there's outliers.
Yeah, okay.
Right, there's outliers always, but the bulk of it is not that.
Got it.
Right. So what's great about skateboarding, and you kind of mentioned it, this idea of not giving up. Right. What we have to go through as skaters to land tricks is incredibly brutal. Right. I can't just jump on a board and do the trick that I'm going to film first try. Yeah. It takes hours and hours to do it. Yeah. And every time we mess up, it hurts. Yeah. So we are programmed with this idea of failure is part of the process to succeed. And it doesn't matter how long, it just matters that you do. So we have that side of us that will go through hell to succeed. A pro. The challenge to skateboarders is we are very, you call it self-limiting beliefs, small thinking. Yeah. Right? So what I had to do was I learned all these skill sets, but also had things that were holding me back. Yeah. I had to work on these tweaks to allow these skills to really push forward. And this is with already being successful. Like I had an incredible, successful skate career. We had sold this business, which was incredible. I still was not thinking the way I am now. It was still small thinking in a sense.
So I know your dad was always worried about you, how you make money and how you're able to keep your money. Yeah. Right? So tell me about that relationship dynamic, because that's pretty awesome. Because I think your dad, whatever he did, he molded you into believing that, okay, don't spend above your means. Yeah. You're always very good with your money because most athletes, you give somebody, 8-figure paycheck that never had money before.
Yeah.
Or never really had real money.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, next thing you know, they go, blow it.
Yeah.
And after a couple of years, that's why we see most athletes, they go broke, and or most people who win the lottery,
Yeah.
They go broke because they never learn how to manage money.
That's right.
They were just given. So tell me about that relationship dynamic with your dad and how you become so good at managing your money,
Yeah.
not being a typical athlete who makes a bunch of money and the next thing you know, after they have nothing to show for.
Yeah. So one, that is probably one of the most thankful things that I am thankful for was my parents and their example that they gave me. Because I think it's passed down, right? You're a product of your environment. So if you grow up in a household that is not good with money, chances are you're not going to be good with money, right? My dad parents were in the Depression, right? So everything fell out. So that generation, I think naturally, my dad was kind of middle class. You spend less than you make, right? You keep it all in, and you're really, you really pay attention to where money's going, right? Also, my dad had a really healthy look on money. Money was never emotional to him, ever. So just seeing that, I think it instilled this idea for me that money is money, and I need to live below my means, right? So that was good for being a skateboarder. What I ultimately had to change about that is, yes, you want to have guidance on your money, you want to know where it's going, but this idea of conserving doesn't get you to financial freedom.
No, you got to invest it and be able to, money flows.
Exactly.
Right? If you just keep it and put it in a safe or a bank account, it doesn't do anything for you. It won't help the economy, it won't help you, it won't help anything.
100%.
Right?
So my dad didn't necessarily show me that firsthand, but what he did was put somebody in my life to help me. And that's when my life changed. That was, I think, looking back, maybe the biggest turning point of where my life was headed and where it ended up going.
So your dad knew that, hey, we have a lot of money. Obviously, nobody in our family had this kind of money before. All I know is we don't want you to blow it.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with it, but let me get somebody to help you.
Yes.
See, that's genius.
Yeah.
That's genius. One, you admit that, what you cannot do with it. Okay. You admit that you don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
And let's get some help. Somebody who knows what to do with it and help us structure it and be able to all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So tell me how that happened. So tell me what you do with it, and what the next evolution was. So
at this point, I thought that if you get $1 million, you're good for life.
Oh gosh, man,
right?
I thought that too.
Right? That's what I thought, and I thought that basically you could save your way into becoming wealthy.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah, me too.
Right? And so multiple things happened, but I think this idea of getting your money to work for you, I had no idea about that. And what's funny is the first time I invested into a storage unit project, right? And the first time I invested into it, I started getting my dividends, right? Or my distributions. And I get my first one, I think it's a fluke. I'm like, okay, that's cool, but I don't think that's gonna happen again. And I get another one, right? And then I get another one. And once these things started coming in consistently, it was this idea that, oh my gosh, what I interpreted as, I can make money doing nothing. What it ultimately meant was I could now no longer trade time for money, or service for money. I can now put money to make money. Yeah. That was a huge eye-opener for me.
That's real financial freedom.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we're programmed from back in the day, from our parents, from the industrial age, that, you trade time for money. You put in X amount of hours, you get this much per hour, and this is how much you make.
Yep.
And we know now that, that's called active income.
Yep.
And you can make passive income by just investing your money and not having to trade dollars for money.
Bingo. And then the second one, he showed me the difference between assets and liabilities.
Gosh, man.
Right? And what I thought prior to meeting him is that I was investing in assets. I was not. I was investing in liabilities that were doing nothing for me, right? But that's I remember having this conversation with another skater, and he was like, hey, dude, you need to go buy a house, right? I was like, all right, cool. He's like, that will be the best investment you ever make, buy a house, right? Okay, cool, I buy a house. I think this is the greatest investment I'll ever make. Then I meet this guy and goes, a home's not an investment. What are you talking? Bingo. Then it was like, what do you mean it's not an investment? My whole world, I was taught that owning a home is the best investment. Yeah. And then I started learning about it, learning the difference. Look, anything that you have to take money out of your pocket to pay for, liability. Anything that puts money into your pocket, asset.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh my gosh, how do I get assets?
Yeah.
Right? And so that was basically my introduction to it. And then the idea was I was making 120 grand a year at this point, right? And so I wanted assets. Well, I'm not making a ton of money. So basically I took the approach that a lot of people use to get out of debt. And that was, you have your money coming in, you have the things you have to pay for, and all the non-discretionary, all the things that I want or feel good. That's what I use to pay debt. I took the same approach, but instead of paying debt, it was paying to buy assets, right? So I was living like I was broke. I was living off 25 grand a year and trying to maximize the amount of money I could use to invest.
I love what you say because, earlier somebody asked me, what piece of financial advice do you have for people? And I started with this quote: if you like to live like no other, you have to live like no other.
Yeah.
So for a period of time, whatever that period of time is, you have to be very frugal.
Yeah.
You have to live way below your means so that you can acquire some money to be able to invest in some assets to give you passive income
100%.
so you don't have to be on the rat race.
100%.
Before I bought this house, man, for a period of like 4 years, bro, I literally drive the Scion XP, the company car.
Yeah.
I used to go to Costco and Ralph's to get gas, save 20s. I gamified it.
Yeah.
I gamified. What can I do to not spend any money?
Yeah.
And that's how I was able to just have everything. I'm debt free. Be able to get everything. And
that takes discipline.
Yeah.
Right?
And a lot of people in this society, in this microwave society, everybody wants things now. Everybody wants the newest iPhone, newest Jordans, the newest model car, the newest thing that comes out. Yet they want to save, but they're not willing to delay gratification.
Yeah.
And here's the thing: you don't have to delay gratification forever.
No.
But you do have to do it for a period of time for you to be able to save some money to be able to invest in some assets.
Yep, exactly.
So now your company, your financial company, what is it called?
It's called Commune Capital.
Common Capital?
Commune, C-O-M-M-U-N-E.
Okay. So tell me about who you serve. Who's your ideal client?
So I'm going to tell you who my original ideal client was because it's changed now. My ideal client was athletes because those were the people that I knew.
Because that's who you were.
It's because of who I was. My pain point is that, right? I understand how scary it is to have something, love something, not be able to do it forever, and ultimately leave that and look back at that as the greatest time in your life.
And then lose all the money that you ever made from it.
Exactly. And so that is who I originally built it for, was athletes. What ended up happening was there were so many more people that connected with this idea of, I don't want to have to work. I want to choose to work, right? And so it started off as athletes, and then it started going into, we're a real eclectic group. We have lawyers, doctors, athletes, sales guys, entrepreneurs. We're at about 55 investors. So I would say our target, let's say, investor it's a retail investor. It's a guy making anywhere from $200,000 to over $1 million who wants to build his passive income or invest in alternative investment.
Got it. So tell me some of the vehicles that you use right now for passive income. Some of the best vehicles that you use right now to create passive income for your clients.
So the vehicles that I've used and in my mind are the best. We have an asset-backed lending fund. So we invest on commercial real estate. We lend on commercial real estate. And then we have an equity fund that invests into storage units. And then we have a fund for multifamily and mixed-use apartments. So all on the commercial side. And for me, real estate is, I love almost everything about it as far as a alternative investment vehicle for building passive
absolutely,
income.
man. I own a couple of multi-units.
Yeah.
And I'm looking in the future to acquire more. Right now, my multi-units are in Southern California.
Are in Southern California?
Are in Southern California. But then when I look at other states, I'm getting so much better cap rate and so much more cash flow. Then I'm like, oh my God, man, I'm not going to buy any more in Southern California. I'm probably going to go to Texas, Tennessee, or Pennsylvania, to be able to get so much more for my money as far as cash flow is concerned.
So, it depends what you're looking for, right? You have a California, which is an equity play, right?
Absolutely.
It's going to appreciate.
Yes.
They don't cash flow well.
Yes.
Right? You go somewhere like Memphis. Think cash flows like crazy.
But it doesn't do
no
equity.
appreciation.
Yep,
then you go somewhere like Atlanta, participates in both, right? So it really depends on what you look for, right?
Absolutely.
So where you invest is what ultimately you're looking to get out of that investment, right? For us, we have a fund structure. So we're able to buy, let's say, a building. We have a building out here. So we have a building in Southern California, and we have a building in Ohio. So we're able to play with a cash flow participant and play with appreciation investment
so you have
to diversify in what we're looking for.
Love it.
Because the other thing about markets is they react differently through corrections.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, I like the idea that you're looking outside of California,
Yeah.
but your properties in California
No,
probably appreciated like
no,
crazy.
100%.
Yeah.
You know, I bought one property 3 years ago for 1.1 million, and right now, you know, it was appraised for 1.5.
Great.
You know what I mean? So, you know, I know I won't get that in Memphis.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know I
But
won't
they
get that.
cash flow better than
flow's
7%,
yeah.
6%.
Yeah, exactly,
Yep.
man. Yeah, exactly. So now, what's next for you? You know, I know that you're expecting. You have 2 daughters.
I do.
You know, and you are expecting a third surprise. We don't know if it's a boy or a girl.
That's right.
You know, but what drives you right now? What are the next steps? What do you want to do in the next 3 to 5 years to move your business forward? And
Okay, so what drives me is, truthfully, what drives me is athletes. It's seeing how far we still have to go. And it's not just skateboarding, it's all of them. Football,
yeah, just financial
baseball.
literacy, right?
Exactly. And the challenge is I had this conversation the other day. You have these group of guys that typically come from nothing, come from poverty, right? And I know you've heard this talk before. Poverty is also a mindset.
Oh, 100%.
Right?
100%.
So you're dealing with these kids who are not taught the ways to look at opportunity or their surroundings. So when they're given money, they don't have the tools to do anything with it. It's why 65% of them go broke. Yeah. Right? So
is that what the stat is? 65%?
I think it's at 65%
Wow.
the first 5 years.
Yeah.
First 5 years, right? And so what really drives me is knowing there's so many people that I and my basically team can affect and change, right? And influence and hopefully put them in a position that these guys did for me, right? Looking at my career, it's like, dude, I could have been like working in the warehouse for the sponsor that sponsored me, or I could be in the position I'm in now. Yeah. And I want to basically leave our industry better than when I had it, and I'm the outlier, unfortunately. So I want to go in and do that for
everybody.
Exactly. So I think honestly, I've got so much room to do it that's ultimately what's driving me, and I think I'm going to be focusing on this for longer than 5 years.
So what I know you deal with people who make anywhere between a couple $100,000 to $1 million. Do you accept clients who make less than that? Like what?
Such a good question.
I just want to know, if people who are watching this, and they say, hey man, maybe you have $50,000 to invest or $20,000 to invest, would you be able to do anything for me and all that kind of stuff? Would that something that you entertain, or that's something that's not your niche?
That's such a good question. And this was one of the biggest eye-opening moments for me getting into this. Is the government sets requirements on who you can have as investors, right? I know you know this, but for everyone listening,
accredited investor.
You have accredited investor or non-accredited investor, right?
That's true.
So me going in, I was like, yo, I want to do this for everyone.
Yes.
And then I got hit with, you can't do this for everyone in our fund structure. Yeah. So with that said, as far as investing with us at the moment, you have to be accredited. Yeah. A big part of what we do is education. And we can help educate people who aren't accredited yet, and then our next fund after we close this one will be a fund that non-accreds can invest in as well.
So, I remember sitting at a seminar, and they were talking, when I was younger, they were talking about if you're an accredited investor, and for me, I thought, was that a certification I get? Yeah. So I was confused, right?
Me too.
I was confused. I'm like, is that I go somewhere and go through a course and get the certification? Because I don't have it, And then they told me, no, it has nothing to do with that. It has to do about the amount of money you make, right? So can you tell for people who are watching or listening to this that don't know what accredited investor is, what is exactly today the definition of accredited investor?
So an accredited investor either makes an annual income of $200,000 a year for 2 years in a row as a single entity. Mm-hmm. If they're married, they need to make $300,000 a year, or have a net worth over $1 million excluding your primary residence. Got it. And you don't have to hit all of them, you have to hit one of them.
Got it.
So that's the requirements as they stand. I don't love it because there's a lot of people I know that make a lot of money that have less understanding of investing than a lot of my friends that aren't accredited. Yeah. But That's where the government set the bar. And so at the moment until, and what's cool is they created a Reg A Plus offering, which is recent, I think it was 2017, that allows a real estate fund to have non-accredited investors that you can market to. So that will be the next fund we do. So it's not this feeling of I can only help.
Unfortunately, you are regulated by the government. No, totally. Fortunately and unfortunately, because we know there's a lot of shysters out there, taking advantage of people and all that kind of stuff. So I'm actually glad that the government regulates it, but they can do a better job educating people about it. Because I remember the first time I was so lost. I'm like, I don't have a accreditation. I didn't go get certified. What course do I need to take? So Mikey, for people who don't know about you, I want to learn about you and what you have to offer and a little more about your company and things like that. Where can they find you?
So if you want to find me, I think the easiest way is just Instagram. From there, you can find anything I do.
Is it Mikey Taylor?
Just Mikey Taylor. If you want to find the company, it's communecapital.com. Our Instagram's Commune Capital, but you can find all that through my Instagram as well.
Awesome. Well, guys, there you have it. Mr. Mikey Taylor, pro skateboarder, who with a shoe deal started making some good money, not great money to Israel, good money. He has some limiting self-beliefs because of the culture and all the people he was hanging around with. He started a company, a brewing company out of nowhere. He sold it for 8 figures, with 3 of his partners, but he didn't even want to show that. He was all kind of afraid of showing it to the skateboard community because apparently, making money in the skateboarding community back in the day, I don't know if it still is kind of like, you're selling out. Success is bad. And you know what? In some cultures and in some things, success, they look at it as, you sold out, you're bad. But now he's a family man, very successful, and now he has a financial company helping not only athletes, but accredited investors be able to make passive income so they don't have to work if they don't want to. They have to work if they want to.
True. Yep.
Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you, brother.
Appreciate it.